The story will be told from the perspective of the main female character. My mother didn't just scream at me, she gave me a final order. You have 48 hours to get your things out. She told me this house belongs to your sister now. There was no warning and no explanation. The words she spoke were sharp enough to cut through the room like a blade. I remember just staring at her, waiting for the moment she would laugh or say she was joking, but that moment never came. I didn't argue with her. I didn't even cry. Instead, I went completely silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence people expect when someone is calm, but the kind that makes everyone around uncomfortable. The kind that makes people nervous because they can't guess what will happen next. 2 days later, when my sister walked through that same front door, she learned that silence can sometimes be far more dangerous than anger. I grew up in that house. Every creak in the wooden floors, every faded photograph hanging on the walls, and every chipped corner of the staircase carried a piece of my childhood. To outsiders, it looked like an ordinary family home. To me, it felt more like a complicated maze made from expectations and responsibilities that had slowly been placed on my shoulders. If someone stepped inside on any random morning, they would hear the low buzzing sound of the old coffee machine my father always refused to replace. They would smell the strong lavender cleaner my mother wiped over every surface, as if she believed she could control life itself by scrubbing hard enough. I was the oldest child in the family, but that never meant I had authority. In our house, being the oldest simply meant I was the one expected to fix everything that went wrong. Since I was 17, every confusing letter, every unpaid fine, every official document that arrived in the mail ended up on my desk. My mother liked to call it responsibility. My father would say I had a smart head on my shoulders, but what they really meant was something much simpler. We don't want to deal with this. Give it to Alice, and because I desperately wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere, I kept doing it. Then there was my sister. She moved through life the way glitter floats in sunlight. Bright, charming, and impossible to ignore. My mother adored her completely. My father bragged about her wellness brand to anyone who was willing to listen. Even though my sister lived mostly on borrowed money and optimistic promises, my mother would shoot me a warning look anytime I mentioned how unfair things felt. It was the same look every time, the one that silently accused me of being jealous just for wanting equal treatment. The house itself reflected that hidden hierarchy. My sister's bedroom was nearly twice the size of mine. It was painted in a warm cream color and decorated with elegant curtains she had chosen during a shopping trip with our mother. Meanwhile, my room still had the same faded blue paint from when I was in middle school. I never complained. I had learned very early that complaining didn't solve anything. It only made my mother sigh dramatically and say the same sentence she always used. Why can't you just be happy for your sister? Even so, that house was the closest thing I had to stability. After long days at the office, I always returned to it. I hung my coat on the same wall hook I had used since high school and allowed the familiar quiet to wrap around me like a blanket. It wasn't perfect, but it held my memories and in a way that made it feel like it belonged to me too. So when my mother shouted that the house now belonged to my sister, she wasn't just handing over a piece of property. She was tossing aside my entire past as casually as if she were rearranging furniture. The truth is, I should have noticed the signs much earlier, the small comments. The quiet decisions made without including me. They were all right in front of me the whole time. My sister often talked about her future plans as if the house already belonged to her. Looking back now, those signs weren't subtle at all. They were painfully clear. I just didn't realize how soon everything would collapse until the morning it finally did. The change didn't arrive all at once. It came slowly, in tiny pieces that seemed harmless on their own but formed a pattern when placed together. My mother started referring to the house as our future investment. My father talked about making life easier, which in our family usually meant I would carry more responsibility while my sister carried less. My sister, with her colorful vision boards and endless selfies, began filming content in rooms she had never shown interest in before. One afternoon, she smiled into her camera and told her followers, "One day this whole place will be transformed." The way she said it sounded less like a dream and more like a promise she had already claimed. At first, I ignored it. My sister had always exaggerated everything. But then one evening, I noticed papers spread across the dining table. They were documents about property taxes and home valuations. My mother had scribbled notes in the margins, and in the corners I recognized my sister's handwriting listing renovation ideas. When I entered the room, all three of them stopped talking immediately. My mother folded the papers quickly. My father cleared his throat awkwardly. My sister gave me a smile that looked far too rehearsed. We were just discussing possibilities, my mother said. Possibilities for what? I asked. She waved her hand dismissively. Grown-up matters, don't worry about it. That was her favorite trick for making me feel small. She treated adulthood like an exclusive club I somehow didn't qualify for, even though I was the one who solved every legal and financial problem the family faced. Gradually, the tension began to settle into the walls of the house. My sister started openly discussing the improvements she wanted to make. My mother rearranged furniture without asking me. One afternoon, I walked in to find my sister filming another wellness video in the living room. She cheerfully explained to her audience that she had big plans for the property. Later, when I confronted her, she simply shrugged. Relax, Alice, you get way too attached to things. This house has potential. It's our parents' house, I replied. My sister just smiled. Is it? The way she said those two words made my stomach twist, but the true shift happened on a morning that looked perfectly ordinary. I was getting ready to leave for work when I noticed an envelope slipped under my bedroom door. Inside was a printed schedule. It listed my sister's meetings with clients, filming sessions, and energy retreats. Every single event was planned to take place inside our house. At the bottom of the page, my mother had added a handwritten note. We'll adjust your room soon. She used the word adjust as if my room were just another chess piece they could slide out of the way. That night I confronted my mother. Why is my sister planning events here? I asked. Why is she talking like she owns the house? My mother didn't even lift her eyes from her tea. She needs space for her business. She contributes to the family in her own way. And I don't, I asked quietly. Finally, she looked at me. You're stable. You don't need as much. That single sentence sliced through years of buried resentment. In their minds, my reliability made me less important. That was the moment everything inside me finally cracked. I understood then that this wasn't just favoritism or carelessness. It was a deliberate plan, and I had never been part of it. The breaking point arrived 2 mornings later. The day started like any other. I walked downstairs expecting the usual sounds of plates clinking and the familiar smell of lavender cleaner. Instead, I saw all my belongings stacked in boxes beside the front door. My clothes, my books, my framed photos, everything. My sister stood nearby with her ring light turned on, filming a video about fresh beginnings and embracing the next chapter of life. Apparently, my next chapter didn't include a place to live. Before I could speak, my mother stepped out of the kitchen. She didn't look surprised. She didn't look guilty. She looked prepared. You have 48 hours to get your stuff out, my mother said. That house is your sister's now. It should have shattered me, but instead I went quiet, so quiet that even I felt uneasy about it. I didn't yell. I didn't defend myself. I didn't remind them of the years I spent handling their taxes, writing their contracts, or organizing every bill that arrived in the mail. I simply looked at the boxes. Then I looked at my sister's cheerful smile, and something inside me clicked. I didn't fight them. I stayed silent and started preparing. I went upstairs, locked my door, and let the silence settle around me like armor. If they wanted me gone that badly, fine. But I wasn't leaving until I understood exactly what they had done. I opened my laptop and searched the property records I had helped my father organize months earlier. At the time, he had claimed he just needed help keeping things organized. Now the pieces fit together too neatly. I saw transfers, signatures, and notes written in my mother's handwriting. There were discussions about timing and documents my sister should never have had access to. Legally, the house still belonged to my parents. But every file showed they had been preparing to hand it to her long before they told me. Then I found something else, emails written by my sister. She was outlining renovation plans, business proposals, and legal filings I recognized from my own professional work. She wasn't just dreaming about owning the house. She had already built her entire future around it, without me. I took screenshots, downloaded the files, saved every document into a folder I named Evidence. Nothing was illegal yet. But there were enough questionable details to create leverage, enough to reveal their plans if they tried to push me too far. For the first time since my mother spoke those words, I didn't feel powerless. That evening, my mother knocked on my door. You're being dramatic, she said through the wood. This is what's best for the family. Family, that word felt like a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't open the door, I didn't say a word. I realized that being silent could be louder than screaming. And if my sister really wanted this house, she was about to learn something very important. Owning something comes with problems she wasn't ready to handle. 2 days later, the house felt like a stranger to me. It felt like every wall and every floor had learned how to exist without me there. My boxes weren't in the hallway anymore. My mother had moved them to the garage. They were stacked up like trash, just waiting for someone to pick them up. My sister's car wasn't in the driveway, which meant she was out filming or working on her energy somewhere in the city. My father was acting like he was busy in the backyard. He was trimming hedges that didn't even need to be cut. The whole house felt like a stage, and they were getting ready for a show where I wasn't allowed to be an actor. But I wasn't getting ready to leave. I was getting ready to end the whole performance. That afternoon, I got the email I was waiting for. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just a short note confirming the legal meeting I asked for and a summary of my rights regarding the house. The words were very cold and professional, but to me they felt like oxygen. For the first time, the law I used to help everyone else was finally going to help me. The sun went down behind the houses and a car pulled into the driveway. My sister got out. She had on a light-colored dress that looked like it was for a magazine. She held some folders and walked up the steps like she owned the world. She went inside and didn't even see me at first. She was talking to her phone. "This is the first day of the move," she said into the camera. "This place will look great when the new floors are put in. Just wait until you see the room for meditation." She stopped talking when she saw me. "Oh," she said. She put her phone down. "You are still here." I stood there in the house where I grew up. I kept this place running while she just acted like everything was for her. I didn't say anything. She rolled her eyes at me. "Look, Alice, I know this is hard for you," she said. "But our parents are right. I have real plans. This house has a lot of value that your life just doesn't need. You don't need it, I do." She was being mean, but she said it like she was talking about the weather. "You think this house belongs to you?" I asked very quietly. She held her head up high. "It is mine." I stopped her before she could say more. Mom said, "That is what you keep saying, but the law doesn't say that." The front door opened again before she could talk. My mother came in with a bag of food from the store. My father was right behind her. They both had looks on their faces that made me feel sick. They looked happy with themselves. My sister stood up straighter because she had helped now. "Mom," my sister said, "can you please tell Alice that this is—" But my mother wasn't even looking at her. She was looking right at me. "Why are you still here?" she asked in a flat voice. "We told you to have all your stuff out by today." I looked her in the eyes and I told you nothing. My father walked toward me. "We don't have time for this, Alice. We have meetings coming up. People are coming to see the house. You have to move your stuff so your sister can start." "Start what?" I asked. My sister breathed out very loudly. "Her business. Alice, my business. I have people giving me money. I have promises to keep. I can't do anything while you're still hanging around here." She acted like I was some kind of dirt on the floor. My mother put the grocery bag on the counter very hard. "This is crazy. Act like an adult for one time. Just pack up your things and go away without a fight." It was funny how the people who made all the trouble wanted things to be peaceful when it helped them. I didn't yell. My face didn't change at all. I just reached into my bag and took out a folder. It was thin and very neat. "Before I go anywhere," I said, "you all need to see something." My sister crossed her arms. "Oh man, are you really doing this? What could you show us that matters?" I opened the folder for them. Inside were all the printed records, notes about the house, and logs of their talks. I had the emails my sister wrote and my mother's handwritten plans to change the rooms. I also had a letter saying that the house was never legally transferred to anyone else. It said that trying to kick out a person who lives there without a real legal reason or notice is against the law. The feeling in the room changed. My sister didn't look so sure anymore. My mother gripped the counter tightly. My father stopped acting like he didn't care. "This," I said in a calm voice, "is everything you were planning while you kept me in the dark. These are all the papers you left out or tried to hide from me. This is the proof that you wanted to kick me out long before you actually said it to me." My mother's face got very hard. "You don't understand what we are trying to do. Your sister needs this." I said her name softly. "Your sister needs that is always the reason, isn't it?" My father stepped in. "You are making this look bad. We aren't the bad guys here. We are trying to build something for the future. I asked him by kicking out your own daughter. Nobody said anything. My sister swallowed hard. It isn't about you, Alice. You just don't fit the vision. That word vision felt worse than any bad name. I put the last piece of paper on the kitchen counter. This is a real notice. It says I am a legal resident of this house. You cannot kick me out just because you want to. If you try to do it without the right legal steps, it counts as harassment and an illegal eviction. My father made a noise. That is way too dramatic. I told him, no, that is the law. You have asked me to understand that law for 11 years for your own sake. You just thought I would never use it to protect myself. My sister looked very pale now. So what? Are you going to stay here forever? I said, no, I am leaving, but I am not leaving when you tell me to. My mother's voice sounded shaky. You can't do this. People are coming here tomorrow. We made promises. I told her that isn't my problem. For the first time, my sister looked really scared. Her voice got low. Alice, you are going to break everything. I walked closer to her. I wasn't trying to scare her. I just wanted it to be over. I didn't break anything. I just stopped you from breaking me. Just then there was a knock on the door. It was 3 loud taps. My father opened the door. He thought it was a neighbor or a package, but it was a woman in a blue jacket. She was holding her own folder. She said her name and handed my parents some papers. It was an official notice about property fights and questions about the documents. It said that all repairs, business plans, and changes to who lives in the house had to stop until everything was checked. My sister's mouth stayed open. What does this mean? She asked. The woman said, it means nothing in this house can happen until we clear things up. No new people can move in, no business can happen, and no rooms can be changed. Everything is frozen. My mother looked at me like she didn't even know me. What did you do? She whispered. I told her. I prepared just like I said. My sister's voice was shaking. But people are coming tomorrow. What should I tell them? I looked her in the eyes, tell them the truth. That was the moment my sister realized her confidence was just a lie. She was standing there with nothing left. My mother sat down in a chair. My father rubbed his head and talked about the trouble they were in. My sister looked at the papers like she couldn't even read them. Our house felt different again, but this time it wasn't because I was being pushed out. It was because I was the one in charge of the rules. The house stayed very quiet after the woman left. It felt like the walls were waiting for something. My mother walked around the kitchen and whispered about money. My father went outside to rake leaves that were not even there. My sister went into her old room and called people. She was trying to tell a story that nobody believed anymore. By the next morning, everything was falling apart for them. The people giving my sister money for her business quit as soon as they heard about the legal trouble. The repairs she talked about on the internet were now impossible to do. Her fans on the web noticed she sounded different. They started writing mean comments. She built her brand on being sure of herself, and now she had nothing to show. My mother wouldn't even look at me. My father tried to talk me out of it. He asked if we could fix things, but for once I didn't help. That wasn't my job anymore. 2 days later, I packed up my own stuff. I didn't leave because they made me. I left because I wanted to. I signed a paper for a small apartment on the other side of the city. It had clean walls and no old memories. When I put my last box down, I felt very peaceful. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't fixing a single thing. I wasn't waiting for the next bad thing to happen. I was just free. I still think about that old house. Sometimes I think about the stairs and the hallway and the girl I used to be, but leaving didn't hurt me. It gave me the space to build my own life. Doing what was right didn't come from yelling or getting even. It came from picking myself and setting rules. It came from letting the truth be more important than being loyal to people who didn't care about me. If what I just told you sounds like something from your own life, know that you are not going through it by yourself. Tell us about your own past in the comment section below. Also, make sure to press the subscribe button so you can see the next post when it comes out.